For far too long, the residents of eastern Brookhaven and Riverhead have been impacted by the helicopter flights over Long Island. The FAA is about to constitute or formulate new regulations requiring helicopter flights to be 2,500 feet. We are asking the residents of eastern Brookhaven, the residents of Riverhead, the residents of the 1st Legislative District are asking for these helicopters to be put at a flight height of 3,000 feet. The bottom line is, if you're using the airport in East Hampton, fly around Plum Island and then fly into East Hampton through Northwest Creek.
Regulations will not work until a southern route is adopted and until the federal government legislates whisper mode for commuter helicopters, particularly the big Sikorsky's that are flying out of Manhattan. With a whisper mode, we'll have a much quieter flight. I stand strongly behind the East End towns and with the other elected officials in supporting an alternative route so that helicopters are not flying low, not flying over our homes, and not creating a nuisance for all of us here on Eastern Long Island. Thank you.
We don't want to discourage tourism. We don't want to discourage people from coming to the East End. We're just asking for the same respect, and that's quality of life.
This will be brief and a little pithy. Every summer, the well-heeled Hamptonites invade the East End with their flying machines, making every community from New York City to Montauk sound like an episode of MASH. It's inundating to our quality of life. We can't enjoy our barbecues, and we certainly can't enjoy our leisure time on the beach. There's nothing but a helicopter parade from morning till night, and it really has to stop.
We've seen many proposals, we've seen voluntary efforts that have been put forward, and yet this Memorial Day weekend I received some of the highest number of complaints about helicopter traffic and noise that I've ever received in my 6 years in office.
We on the East End enjoy our quality of life out here. We pay dearly to live out here. We should have the sanctity of our homes and our backyards for that, just like the people out in East Hampton.
Going to the South Shore, Southampton, East Hampton, there should be a South Shore route over the ocean to get to those points.
Sid Bale, Wading River Civic Association. This is a little bit of a good news, bad news situation. The good news, after many years, the FAA has finally acknowledged that it has the authority to control helicopter flights. The bad news is the proposed regulations. They do very little in terms of equitable distribution of helicopter flights for northeastern Brookhaven and the western part of Riverhead. So again, they have the authority, but do they have the will?
And what is being echoed here and repeated is quality of life. The people in each of our communities has worked very hard for their little piece of paradise, and it's being disturbed, okay, by the overhead flights. All I would ask for 30 seconds to think about if the shoe were on the other foot. If we were taking our helicopter and running it over East Hampton and South Shore communities so they could come up here and enjoy. I think if it was reversed, it would be self-evident. Thank you.
So how do you guys feel? Do you think they're going to really do anything with these helicopter rules? Or something's going to happen now?
You know what, if you had asked me 3 years ago, the FAA 3 years ago refused to even acknowledge they could control helicopter flights.
How ridiculous is
Now they're saying they can and coming out with these regulations. Are they what we hoped for? Absolutely not. Do I think that 3 years from now things will be a heck of a lot better? Yes, providing one thing, that the elected officials, which we're all committed to, and the people stay united and keep the pressure on, particularly our federal representatives.
Have they been issuing fines? Does anybody know?
No. First of all, they had no fines for pilots that were flying too low because there was no altitude requirement. If I pressed the FAA in questions before the legislature, and the representative said, well, we really don't have an altitude requirement, but we discourage people flying lower than 300 feet. Was the testimony in front of the Suffolk County
County legislator. They can fly so low you can see the pilot and wave.
So this is a step forward that the FAA is now going to set these regulations. Are they sufficient enough? Absolutely not. But it is a start. We have to build on them, and we certainly have to keep on making the noise that is required for the squeaky wheel to get the grease.
Thank you very much.
Right.
Thanks, Peter.